Hey everybody, this is Herschel from High School Top 200. This St. Peter's School, Cambridge review is brought to you by Fineline Barbers in Hamilton. Fineline Barbers have joined up with a barbering supplier in New Zealand, a major barbering supplier in New Zealand that is, they're putting together an Aotearoa barber competition for New Zealand to find out who the best barbers are around the country and to find out who's got the goods and who's got the talent and who's got the style and who's got everything else that you're supposed to have. They're going to be setting up a Facebook page for an Instagram page for barbers to put their work up online so that they will be able to showcase it to us, the public, and that we'll be able to have a look at them and sort of judge for ourselves. Also, it gives us the opportunity to go and see them live when they're here in Hamilton for the competition in September. And so it's a good opportunity for us to do it, and it brings together the barbering community and also the vendors, and so that they can all interlink and network and things like that. It shows us a lot of talent, so look out for that. Fineline Barbers, my mate Vinnie putting together an Aotearoa barber competition, 2017 in September. St. Peter's School, Cambridge. I say Cambridge, and it's just outside of Hamilton. If a lot of you don't know where Cambridge is, this is going to be a new powerhouse of rugby, with the way that they're putting together their teams and the way that they're putting together talent, and doing really good on the recruiting. What do you call it, track as well as everybody else. They're doing really good with that. They're putting together good coaching staff and a really good rugby program for the boys that do attend the school. And a lot of people don't understand it. They think that just because you have money and you can buy a team, that it's going to be good. Not at all. It doesn't matter how many good players you got on your team. If you don't have good coaches and a good system to put them into and to structure them, you're not going to have a team. You're just going to have a whole bunch of talented guys running around hoping that they get the work done. That's not the case. You still have to have good coaches. You still have to have a good academy and a good system within the school to arrange and to build players to be better men and players when they leave. And then you got to understand that a coach doesn't mean that a coach can also build a system. You need a good group of people to do stuff like that. And so, so St. Peter's Cambridge, St. Peter's School is doing that in Cambridge. So have a look out for them. Please don't be surprised if these guys end up winning some games that you thought, who was the St. Peter's School, and we thought that they were the Auckland one. It's not the Auckland one. These guys are from Cambridge, and they're good. And they have a lot of good talent, and this year they had Lachlan McFannel, who made the New Zealand secondary schools. He's not the first one. He's actually one of about 5, I think, because one of my mates, Hokkaido, he was there too when he made New Zealand secondary schools as well. Hokkaido Forbes, he was at St. Peter's. So these guys have been building up, and they've been, making sure that they stay competitive, especially being within the CNI competition, making sure they stay competitive, because that competition in itself is getting better, and that's a good competition to be a part of as well if you're thinking about joining something like that. Starting with Lachlan as well, he was a good lock at the beginning of the year that got better and better every single game that went on. He had his little faults, and they were just little ones, and that you could see that he worked on them and got it going, that to the point where by the time he was ready for New Zealand secondary schools, he was ready for New Zealand secondary schools. It actually built up to that point. I actually felt a bit for Jacob Norris, who I thought should have been in that conversation of New Zealand secondary schools, and he was, and the Barbarians, and he was. It's just that that's just how it happens with so much good talent around the country, is that someone has to miss out. People have to miss out. So these guys such a talented group of players, and and when you become good from coming from nowhere and then becoming good, and that trail to being a good side comes with a lot of mindset changes that you have to have. So right now, St. Peter's School still thinks of themselves as a non-contending school. They're only just getting into it because they did so well this year that they made it all the way to the co-ed national top four, which should be a good mindset for those boys that are coming back, and it should be a good note to those out there saying, is St. Peter's a good school that we should go to in terms of rugby? Education wise, fantastic. It's one of the best that's around. But for rugby, you want it to have hand in hand, and it is. Knowing that you got to the top four, you have a New Zealand secondary school player, you've got other good players coming up through the system as well, then yeah, that's a place that you do want to go. They're now in the CNI competition, which is a growing competition, which is doing good. But St. Peter's have had some big falls, and some falls that shouldn't have happened. Hamilton boys second 15 beat St. Peter's School. Now to everybody else, you're just saying, well, that's a second 15. No, I can promise you now that Hamilton boys second 15 can beat a lot of you first 15s around the country. And Hamilton boys is such a talented school, they have two second 15s, like I said. So that was a loss that they had against Hamilton boys, which they shouldn't have had. But that's where the mindset still has to change. That was early on in the year, but the mindset still has to change. And they have to get over the fact that that they were a bad rugby school, but now they're actually on the way up to being something better. So they have to change that mindset and be up there with the mindset of where you want to be, not where you've come from. So St. Peter's had that loss, and they had to change it. So they did. They did, from going through the year, beating some really good teams and coming close to the rest of some really good teams as well. For instance, like their best win obviously was Fielding. Beating Fielding 17-12 was a massive win for them. And which also gave them that confidence to say, well, if we can beat Fielding, we deserve to be in the top four. We deserve to be in the top ranks of schools in the country. And like, if you look at the ranking that I have them at 35th in the country, which actually isn't that high. You're actually really close, because between they beat Fielding when Fielding was ranked 17th in the country. So all those schools between 35 and 17 are all real close. It doesn't take a lot for you to jump up and down and fall back and go forward and things like that. So everyone is really closely ranked. With one mistake of a loss, you're going to drop back a space or so. If you lose 2 times in a row, you're looking at 5 or 6 spots. It doesn't mean that you're really useless. It just means the competition is so tight. And that's what St. Peter's was in, is that they're in a tight ranking that they had to keep to that structure. And actually beating Fielding jumped them up from when they were, I think, as I remember, they were in the 40-somethings. I think like 47 or something like that. They were close to being outside of the top 50. But they finished, because they won that game, and then they beat Francis Douglas, and then they beat Cambridge, and then they beat St. John's, Hastings. And so like all those things built up to give them that ranking of 35, which they deserve. And so like they're now in that mindset that they deserve to be where they are and deserve to get what they have gotten. They've had some really good players. Like I said, Jacob Norris and also Lachlan as well. Patrick Louis and his brother Zion maybe need a little bit more work, but they're at that stage where they've had a year and they've seen what it's like, and so they're supposed to, they're going to have to lift. Devin Gregory is a guy that I'm looking forward. Devin Gregory is the guy I'm looking forward to see next year, and I think that he would move to open side. So I want to see how well he develops. Ollie Norris would be one of the best. Would be one of the top number 8s coming out next year. and he'll be back again next year as well. And also Kaya as well. Kaya will still be at first five, coming back from fullback and things like that. So it's going to be good to see what this team is going to be like next year. They've had to learn. I think they had a good learning season this year. Finishing within that top four of the co-ed is really good, and that's a massive step. And I think with the way that they've recruited for next year, and the players that they're going to be bringing in, as well as the ones that they've already have there, it's going to give these guys a good set, and the CNI is going to get stronger because of this team. That's my review for St. Peter's School, Cambridge. That's it. Peace.